one of the things that I've said on this radio show is that I believe the most important race in this election cycle is the Illinois Supreme Court. And one of the reasons why I believe that is because the Republicans have not had the Illinois Supreme Court since 1964. And if you look at everything that has happened, everything that has occurred, the maps, pensions, everything has stopped and stalled at the Illinois Supreme Court.
John, thank you for having me, buddy. Always great to be with you.
Yeah. So, Mark, I mean, I look at, some of the things you've done as, you were the gang crime bureau chief, you were a senior prosecutor, you taught constitutional law, you've been a sheriff. I think that more than qualifies Mark Curran to be the next Illinois Supreme Court out of the 2nd District. Talk to us. Who is Mark Curran, and how important is it that you win this Supreme Court seat?
Well, I think that, it's the choice is me, who's going to uphold your liberty and understands the Constitution and understands that the rights belong to the people, versus my opponent, who's essentially Cook County transplant, who's given a lot of money to Ed Burke, who's, staunchly embraced all the liberal causes. And so it's really a real big difference.
But Mark, when you look at what's happened in our state, almost everything dies at the Illinois Supreme Court, and a lot of it is because there's a lot of judicial activism on the court. Why is that a problem, and how does that affect the everyday person who really doesn't pay attention much to politics? And what will you do to change that?
Ultimately, the problem with what you're talking about in terms of judicial activism is that people didn't they vote for the state rep or the state senator. That's their job, is to legislate. It's not for the judiciary to legislate. And when we've had a Democrat majority on the Supreme Court for all these years, you're going to get legislation from the bench, and that's what happened both in the state of Illinois and nationally with the U.S. Supreme Court, which had liberal majorities.
Yeah. How important is due process, and can you explain it in a layman's term of just how important it is for people to really understand due process for their lives, especially as it comes to government?
Right. So in the 5th and 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, and it's been adopted in the Illinois Constitution as well, you have due process of law. And what the word due process means is fundamental fairness. And you're entitled to both fairness procedurally and substantively. So procedurally, that would mean that you're given notice as to what's going to happen, and then you'll be able to exert your rights to protect them, and that's life, liberty, property. And so when you take away, what's been taken away in Illinois, certainly liberty, by telling people that they can't make a living and all the rest, and then not giving them procedural due process where you've given them notice and a hearing in advance of trying to do this and what have you. You've relied on, emergency powers forever, which is not their intent. And then, once again, the way that it was exercised there wasn't really anything in the way of substantive due process either. You're told to shut down and lose your business, and then potentially lose your family's nest egg and everything else without any real due process at all.
Yeah. And Mark, I want to do two things for you. First thing, I want to know, how can people join the campaign if they're looking they want to say, hey, look, we got to win this Supreme Court seat. I want to help Mark Curran. I want to help him financially. I want to help him with my time, my heart, and my treasure.
I'm not allowed to ask for money personally.
I know.
So I won't be doing that, but that's one of the rules for judicial candidates. But, another way they can help us, John, this was Providence that I'm here talking to you right now.
Yes.
So we're not going to underestimate the power of prayer. And, the reality is, when I ran for U.S. Senate, I went through Cook County, and I won 88 out of 102 counties, and I beat Dick Durbin in the county that he lives in. But, the chances of somebody winning when they go through Cook County are not very good.
Right.
And this race that we're running in right now, I'm running in 5 counties, and Lake County is the only one of the 5 that had more Democrat than Republican primary ballot voters on June 28th. The other 4 are strong counties, and they're going to be strong on November 8th. I beat Dick Durbin in McHenry County.
Wow.
Kane, Kendall, and DeKalb are going to go Republican in November, and so we have such a good chance to win, and like you said, it's the difference is night and day. Understanding the Constitution, believing in it, believing that the rights belong to the people. That's the kind of backdrop that I'm going to bring to the bench, and I think that people can take great comfort in the fact that Illinois and it becoming once again a destination that people will want to come to because it'll be the land of the free if we have judges that believe in liberty and intend to rule with liberty.
Amen. Mark Curran, my friend, my brother, former Lake County Sheriff, now candidate to be the Illinois Supreme Court Justice from the 2nd. Thanks so much for joining Black and Right.
Got it, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too, brother. You take care. Mark Curran, candidate for the Illinois Supreme Court 2nd. It's very important that we win the Supreme Court. And I hate to say it this way, even if we don't win any other seats, we got to take back the Supreme Court. You want to change Illinois? That's where it begins. What?
I'll be proud to have him on the Supreme Court. Hopefully he brings some sanity back to Illinois. Yeah.